The drugs flowing over the border are leading to record fentanyl deaths, and experts are split about how to solve it. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency has called fentanyl the primary driver of the record 92,183 drug overdose deaths in 2020. More than 109,000 people died of a drug overdose in the 12-month period ending March 2022. Many drug dealers use fentanyl to make money and smuggle it through the southern border mixed with other drugs like heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine to make them more potent and more deadly, according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Famer, Nick Lowery, just visited the border, and here's what he had to say.
Well, number one is everybody that's watching. I come from a family of yellow dog Democrats. My dad was, listen to this, my dad was, I only found out when he died. I knew he was senior CIA. He was chief of station for the CIA in London back in the 60s. He was literally the James Bond M for the Americans. My dad was a true patriot. I worked for Republicans. I worked in the White House for both Reagan and H.W. Bush and Clinton. I don't care about the party. So I want to just say that really clearly. This is about transparency. I went there with Brian Urlacher. And if you've met Brian, you know he's another class act, great guy, no ego, just, you got to have confidence. But he had great presence. And we went there and met with Chris Clem and the team of the Border Patrol people. We were taken through a full day there. And this is a humanitarian crisis on both sides. 853 people have died trying to come across. 13 Border Patrol agents have committed suicide, 3 in the last month. They were dealing with maybe 25 apprehensions. That's who they caught 2 years ago. Now 1,000 people per day. They cannot. It's just not humanly possible to make sure that they have figured out who are the people that are drug traffickers, bringing in fentanyl, which has now killed, we think, not just 100,000, frankly, a lot more, plus 200,000 opioids. That's 300,000 deaths, people. And yet this story is not being told. So I want people to realize this is a humanitarian crisis for the Border Patrol people who are not getting assistance, and for the people that have legitimate reasons to want to come to this country. They're fleeing oppression. They're fleeing, the kind of daily danger. And then they're made to pay for it by the cartels by, giving $5,000 to $20,000. And if they can't pay, guess what? They have to transport drugs or allow one of the members of their family to be kidnapped, killed, raped, tortured, or become human trafficked. So, it's just not right. It's about transparency. It's about honesty. And when you meet the Border Patrol people, like everything, they're probably 5% of the people in the world that you meet that are just jerks, okay? Whether it's on the football field or anywhere else. Policemen, same thing. But 95% pretty much want to do the right thing absolutely all the time. And they're putting themselves in danger all the time. So it's just not right, because then when the little town in Kansas gets 40 people from, let's say, Brazil that don't speak English and that have, some serious health issues, very serious health issues, that little hospital in that town has suddenly several $1 million of costs they can't manage, or, we talk about crime, et cetera. And then they're the real people who are family-oriented, kind people who are just trying to get away from what they're dealing with. So don't put it in one little envelope, one little wastebasket, one little codicil. It's a human issue. Everybody has a different story, but I'm just there for these Border Patrol people, these first responders, right, that are dealing with daily pressure, daily pain, dealing with witnessing horrendous things happening to some of these people trying to cross the border.
Nick, when Biden went down there, what did you think?
What I thought was how interesting that they sanitized that area. I work with the homeless. Lee Steinberg, another one of my favorite people on the planet, the first agent to say athletes have an opportunity to use this stage to do good things with it. When I saw that, and my Champions for the Homeless program, I see what's happening in the expansion of homelessness all around the country. You have these homeless people temporarily, right, immigrants, and they sanitized the sidewalks and made it look like, there's no problem here. It's just the dishonesty. And what happens is if 60 Minutes or 2020 or Frontline or some of the, the remaining, quality journalisms journalistic enterprises asked to go into the buildings where they're being processed. They're not allowed in. The administration says, we don't want you in there, because they don't want people to see that they're being well treated, that they have apples and bananas, unlimited water, crushed fruit. They have air conditioning. They have locations for the kids that have no one. They have babysitters, if you will, or people that are trained for that. They have families. Of course, there's only so many people they can fit in these facilities, so it's just overrun at times. But they don't want to show that they're being treated really well, and they want to create this unfortunate narrative that's just not truthful. Just show what's happening. Let everybody watching make up their own mind. Don't shove one story down your throat. So I believe in Raul Ortiz, who's the national director of the Border Patrol, my buddy Chris Clem, who just retired. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and starts talking about it now that he can, because it's about honesty. And in America, we want the people that want to come and contribute to this country. It's a great country. We can be greater by having more people that care about us and care about this country come in. But for the people that have other motives, we need to figure out a way to make sure they don't get in. There's no policy. There's no policy. The only policy is don't do anything. Open the floodgates. Don't help the people that are overwhelmed, that are committing suicide, that have huge PTSD issues. Don't do something to make sure that it's at least a safer experience for those people that are that are trying to do the right thing, even as they're desperate as well. By the way, in Yuma, we were showed by Chris Clem. We were on the water. We're showing where it's dangerous crossing. And there's a place where there's a highway about 700 yards at most, less than half a mile from the border. And over here is Mexico. Over here is Canada. And across the water is Arizona. And so I had this image of people walking for days in the desert, right? Well, in reality, they get a license from the Mexican government, and 90% of these people come from 115 other countries than Mexico. So there's another one, because some of them really are, a good percentage are legitimate in terms of their motives. They're let off, and they're dressed quite well, and they're let off at this highway less than half a mile away, and then they walk, and some of them, a couple of them, a few of them have, even the ladies have high heels, and when you see them, they did not have to suffer through the desert. So they paid a lot of money to get in there. Unfortunately, more than enough get trapped in this cartel economy that is burgeoning. Some say $11 billion per day. But most importantly, it's bringing drugs and fentanyl. Do you know someone who's died from fentanyl? I know 3 personally whose child died from fentanyl in the last 2 years. My friend Debbie Gaby, her son, died. I'll just get emotional about it, but it's just, man, what does it take for you to care about human beings and the toll that it's taking on, people that we actually know in person? And so you saw it when they captured El Chapo's, the army in Mexico paid probably a third what the others are on the cartel side, who are the military version for the cartels, and they capture El Chapo's son. And then they're shooting at planes, trying to get them to crash, just to threaten the Mexican government, the few that are, not unfortunately corrupted by this system. It's just overwhelming money in a land where there is a lot of poverty to begin with. So I actually worked in the drug abuse policy office for Reagan way back in '88. And back then it was bad enough. But now we've created an economy for the cartels. And that can only mean worse things for politicians and the threats to their own families if they provide policies that actually make it better for the rest of us.